What's up, Internet? It is the end of the 5th day of Metamorph, and a lot of things happened today. Like I mentioned yesterday, the first thing I did was I went to take on the Awakener, and it went about as I expected. I think that tells about the whole story on that one. You've probably seen a lot of complaints about that fight and the nature of it, and I can't help but agree a little bit. I would say the fight's not. It's not terrible. I think I had a pretty unpleasant immediate reaction to the fight. The more I thought about it, addressing the chaos storms in that fight will probably go a long way to making it a little more interesting. I still would never want to play melee on that fight. I won't dwell on it too long because I'm going to upload that separately, just sort of unedited, and I'll probably talk more about it. Actually, I won't be unedited because I'll probably talk more about it in that video as I watch the replay. But yeah, I think we got him to about 20%, 20 or 25, before I ran out of portals, and the storms are by far the biggest problem. I obviously hadn't seen all of his attacks. I went in there relatively blind. I'd seen a couple things, and he got me with a couple attacks I just never seen, and you don't have much time to react. You know, there are definitely multiple attacks in there that will just outright kill you if you don't know what to do, and they're very specific things that you have to know what to do. So, very cool looking fight, but maybe not the most functional thing I've ever seen. But that was the first thing that happened today, and after that we went back into the Atlas, got some more progression done. I'm still 40 maps or so away from regular completion. I don't have any awakening bonuses because I need noticeably more Watchstones. You know, most of these have some of these have awakening level 1, so I can get some awakening progress out here, but a lot of them are like 2+. I just hit level 2 because I got my 17th stone down here, and if you haven't heard, basically once you're over 16 Watchstones, and you have access to the Awakener fight for the first time, whether you win or lose, every time that an exile takes over influence from that point, you don't have a 100% chance to track him with each map in that region. You only have like a 33% chance. So once, I think his name's Drox, the Warlord, the physical one, he took over this region. I think I had to run 9 or 10 maps maybe to find him 3 times and uncover his citadel. So that was the tier 4 version of the fight, basically. Not necessarily maximum awakening, but sort of the maximum mechanics. Like, everything is going on in that fight. And he really wasn't much different than the last time I fought him. He just had more health. And I feel like the Warlord is a pretty controlled fight. So it's not that bad. And especially as my gear has gotten progressively better. The toughest part about that fight is managing the banners that drop, because they either significantly make him tankier, or they can make things outright invulnerable. And you spend a lot of time kind of moving around that plus-shape arena trying to find the banners and get rid of them. But all told, not bad. I'm not too scared of the Conquerors at this point. I feel like I understand. The only one I'm not totally sure on is the Chaos guy. But we're going to chase down this Desert Spring map for that Soul of Shikari in the Pantheon, because this, the secondary immune to poison, should be very handy at blocking that insane dot he puts on you if he does tag you. And I feel like that's the big threat of that fight, so I'll definitely be switching to Shikari as soon as I find a Desert Spring map that I can slot a Divine Vessel into. We are into tier 16s though, and I feel like I haven't had too many issues. The enemy life is pretty high in tier 16s now, and you kind of have to recalibrate your expectations for your typical progression. Normally, by the time I've hit tier 16s, like before this patch, we're in full swing and nothing's going to live. You know, 2 million Shaper DPS will just paste everything. And it's not really the case now. Most of the trash mobs still get waxed, but rares take a few hits, and then the bosses have way more health than you're used to. So you kind of just have to recalibrate your expectations, and don't panic if it feels like these T16 bosses are really thick. The truth is they are. And what would be way more than acceptable DPS prior to this patch is now just sort of part of the curve. And thankfully, we still have a lot of upgrades to go. I did dump some currency here. I had a little over 5 exalts in change. And I bought a couple new wands today after the stream that were... This one was pretty expensive. I paid 2 exalts for this. Maybe I overpaid a little bit, but it's a rare piece in the sense that none of these are wasted affixes. This was one of the incursion weapons I was talking about in the last video, the Topotantes. So you get a 2-for-1 in that prefix. Lightning damage to spells is okay. I suppose it gives us a chance to min shock on crits, so that's pretty handy. But it had an open suffix, which is why I really wanted it, because if I really want to down the road, I can remove that crafted mod and put prefixes cannot be changed and wipe the cast speed off of it, leave the prefixes, and multi-mod it for the higher tier of up to 18% cast speed and put the crit multi back on, which would be a small bump, you know, if I really wanted to. So this seems like the kind of weapon where I'd be satisfied to have it even in the, like an Ad-Series Reflection, like a really high-end game setup. And then the other wand I picked up doesn't have +1 to all cold, but you should still be searching, I think, wands out that don't have +1 to all cold, that have some better mods. You'll find stuff like this hiding out there. I only paid 35 chaos for that wand, and it had an open suffix. If you ever see a wand like this, where you have cast speed and crit multi, and they're good rolls, but you still have the open suffix, the third best thing here is a little bit hard to tell, right? You can put up to 5% chance to deal double damage, which is technically the rawest, like the highest raw DPS suffix I could have put here. But right behind that is increased critical strike chance for spells. And the margin is close enough that I actually favor the increased crit strike, because just because of that guaranteed chance to freeze on crits. Crits are safety for this build, right? So giving up a tiny amount, and it's really a slim margin between this and the double damage. It's worth about, this affix is worth about 4% effective crit in my setup. So 4% more hits are freezing enemies that might otherwise kill me, versus, you know, 4 or 5% of my hits dealing significantly more damage. I think is a fair trade-off. I didn't really do any other changes to my gear other than I put Meteor Towers anointments on both my rings, because I've been starting to run into a lot of tier 14 and tier 15 blighted maps, which seem more common already this league than they were ever in Blight. So I think there's a pretty good value in anointing your rings again. I'm not sure anything else happened today. You know, we still just want to get Watchstones. I'm at Awakening level 2, and I know that this region here still has 3 Watchstones, so I'm going to be grinding out this area quite a bit at 4 Watchstones to try and get a couple more Watchstones out of here and get our Awakening level up to 4, where I'm hoping that we start getting significant chances to drop Awaken support gems. So I think for today, we'll go and do another Frankenstein Monster to end this one out. I have a pretty good set of pieces here that is going to fill the bar, and hopefully we'll get lucky. These things have been so fun. Like, I really have been enjoying the Metamorph League. I'm looking very much forward to the patch that makes those organs auto pick up, because okay, I can't see our Metamorph, but I'm sure he's dying. Okay, well, nothing too hot here on this one, but we've gotten some pretty good rewards out of these things, and I know on Reddit I saw one image of some guy getting like 4 exalts from one of these. They've had really good returns, and it feels like the mechanic's just not very much in the way, other than having to pick up all the pieces. Once they're auto pickup, I feel like the League mechanic's going to be one of the smoothest they've ever done. So yeah, I think that wraps it up for today. You know, we're going to be doing a lot of grinding on the Atlas in the next couple of days, trying to build currency and get the Awakening level up. I will upload another video within the next day or so of that Awakener fight and talk a bit about that fight in more detail. if you're looking forward to watching me waste 6 portals on running through death fields and not making it. But other than the Awakener fight, I feel like the game is just in a much better place. The end game really feels like, it doesn't necessarily feel stretched out to me, you know, like they unnecessarily slowed down progression. It just feels like the progression level continues, you know, well beyond where we were limited before. T16s take a significantly longer time to get to, and they feel much harder when you get there. I'm just really enjoying it. You know, the League mechanic is one of the better ones I think I've seen, and the endgame Atlas stuff is super interesting, so I'm going to be grinding this build out for quite a while, I think. As always, thanks for coming by the stream, everybody. It's Twitch TV/Wallach TV. If you want to come by and ask me questions, or just see how the build's doing as we get higher and higher awakening levels. And I'll put a link to the Discord in the description if you want to jump in there and talk to other people playing the Freezing Pulse build and some other builds. There's some really knowledgeable people in there if you have any questions. So that'll do it for today. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.